Humans deal with death in a variety of ways across cultures. Individual psychological reactions, collective ritual responses, and the treatment of the physical corpse all reflect cultural beliefs about what death is and what it means for the living and departed. As Shakespeare said, "Live how we can, yet die we must."
And we commit his body to the deep.
Different societies have developed funeral practices to address this inevitability. The earliest evidence of funerals found in present-day Iraq date back to around 60,000 BC, when Neanderthals buried their dead with flowers. Egyptians were practicing embalming and mummification by 3400 BC, while cremation with funeral pyres became the most popular method to dispose of ancient Greeks in 800 BC. Hunter-gatherer societies also show abundant evidence of burial and funeral practices. During the early Archaic period in present-day Chile, there exists evidence of communal family burials, and in 7th century North America, native burials have been found with jewelry, tools, food, and corpses arranged in different body positions according to age, sex, and social status. Funerals address the treatment of the body, but the body is clearly more than physical flesh and bone. Considered from a holistic and integrative perspective, the body is an instrument of individual lived experience, a powerful medium for the social meanings and symbols attributed to and brought to life through it, and an artifact of social and political control. Such an understanding of the body provides a lens for investigating the beliefs and practices surrounding one of the most dramatic and unsettling changes it will undergo. From an anthropological perspective, death is not merely a biological event, but a profoundly social, cultural, and political one. Even so, death is most often out of our control. British functionalists, such as Bronislaw Malinowski, considered the anxiety around uncontrollable life events such as death the source of religion. In his work in Papua New Guinea, he noted that the Trobriand Islanders conducted religious rituals in times of danger, or when undertaking endeavors where the outcome was unknown. He proposed that religious belief was born out of the real tragedies of human life, out of the conflict between human plans and realities, the existence of strong personal attachments, and the fact of death, which of all human events is the most upsetting and disorganizing to man's calculations.
Given these heightened uncertainties, societies develop rituals to ease and support the deceased and their family through the radical transitions of death, just as they do for other major life changes. Arnold van Gennep's three-part structure for rites of passage can be applied here, even when the passage is from this mortal world, as the same three phases can be found in many death and funeral rites. For those that believe in the soul, this separates from the body at the time of death. It is then suspended in a liminal phase between this world of the living and the dead until a funerary ritual allows for the incorporation into the afterlife or next reincarnation. For those who don't believe in a soul, certain rituals are still required to transition the deceased away from the realm of the living. In fact, 2 years before van Gennep proposed his seminal rite of passage structure, Robert Hertz, who had been a student of Emil Durkheim's, drew a clear connection between the passage of death and other rites of passage among the Dayak tribe he was studying. In death, coming of age, marriage, and birth, Hertz saw similar departures from the familiar environments of one realm and the entry into another. The baby moving from the invisible realm into the living, the adolescence from the care of the family to life as an adult, and the dead back to the realm of the invisible. The Dayak's coming-of-age ceremony even began with a fake death, followed by a so-called resurrection into a new life.
Many Christian beliefs about death are in accord with the three-part structure proposed by van Gennep and Hertz. One popular concept is centered on divine judgment. Upon death, the soul leaves the body and enters a liminal state, sometimes called purgatory, until God determines whether it will continue as a life of eternal bliss or perdition. For some Islamic canons, it's believed that upon death, an individual enters the stage of barzakh. Two angels visit the body and question the soul. Those determined to be righteous believers will live in peace, while sinners will face punishment. The soul will remain in this liminal stage until the final judgment day, when God will assess all of humanity. Hindus of different sects share a belief in reincarnation. According to holy texts, the body is temporary, but the soul is eternal, and upon death will be born again as another being. The cycle of reincarnation continues as the soul gains wisdom and ultimately reaches moksha, a completely spiritual existence. The death rites of each religion reflects these beliefs, but the deceased must pass through a liminal phase to reach a peaceful afterlife in many belief systems around the world. Whether this phase lasts a few days or many years, is somber or celebratory, a full transition to the next realm often incorporates ritual gathering and symbolic practice, and the physical and material treatment of the corpse.
Many cultures sit with their deceased relatives before burial. A wake, typical in many cultures, is a time of viewing the body before a funeral. It is a social rite, as those from the deceased social group join together in mourning and support the grieving family with gifts of flowers, food, drink, or financial resources. Similarly, during the Jewish practice of sitting Shiva, the deceased body is watched over, typically at a home or a funeral parlor, while the family welcomes guests for condolences over a period of 7 days.
Amen.
For the Torajens in Sulawesi, the period of sitting with the dead can last for years as families prepare for the funeral and burial. In fact, deceased loved ones are not considered dead, but makula, or sick, until they are properly buried. Their corpses are preserved with a solution of formaldehyde and water and kept in the home. They are cared for attentively, receiving daily meals, prayers, and frequent changes of clothes. The funeral, known as Rambu Solo, is a large-scale celebration of life and demonstrations of status. Festivities are typically held in August or September for days or even weeks. The entire village will enjoy prayers, dancing, singing, cockfighting, and the pinnacle event, water buffalo competitions and a buffalo sacrifice. After the funeral, the body is put to rest in a cliff tomb. The higher up the tomb, the higher the deceased status, with some 100 feet above the ground. This tomb is typically guarded by Tau effigies of the deceased. Every 1 to 3 years, Torajen families will visit the graves, exhume, clean, and refresh their loved ones.
While in many cases family members sit with their dead, some adherents of Buddhism sit with the holy mummies of monks, sometimes dead for centuries, in order to receive their blessings. While most of these monks, found throughout Asia, died of natural causes and were then mummified, some found in Japan and known as Sokushin Butsu are believed to have actually self-mummified as they passed away. While engaging in ongoing meditation and chanting, these men eliminated the fat from their body by consuming an increasingly restricted diet of plants, then removed all water from their body by ceasing to drink. Such astounding powers of asceticism and self-control were thought to lead to enlightenment for the practitioner, and so believers attribute great spiritual power to their bodies. Pilgrims visit these deceased, spiritually animate monks, known as living Buddhas, for their posthumous vitality, to benefit from their purported telepathic, healing, and even life-saving powers.
Other cultures around the world share beliefs about the corpse as a medium for divine or unseen powers. To manage and benefit from the deceased's existence in both realms of living and dead at the same time, they prolong the liminal phase between a first burial, exhumation, and a final burial or cremation. The festival of Famadihana, also known as Dancing with the Dead, is practiced by the Imarina mountain tribe of Madagascar. The festival involves the exhumation and reburial of ancestors to transfer a body from a temporary grave to its ancestral tomb or new tomb, or simply to rewrap them in new silk shrouds. The festival, a joyous celebration larger than a wedding, is held on the 5th, 7th, or 9th anniversary of death. Immediate kin call out for the ancestral spirits the night before in case they have strayed from the tomb. The next day, they exhume the body, dance and drink with the remains. Believing that the deceased enter a second world once their body has decomposed and thereafter become a medium to communicate with God, family and friends have heartfelt conversations with the deceased about their lives and troubles in the hopes that their ancestor will relay these for divine intervention. Before dark, at the close of the ceremony, the body is wrapped neatly in a cloth and placed back in the grave, preventing spiritual hostilities and ushering the deceased out of its liminal stage.
The Dayak Naju of Borneo, whom Hertz studied, have the Tiwah funeral process. The body is not taken directly to its final resting place, but sheltered in a temporary coffin awaiting a second burial while the family plans elaborate funerary festivities. This can take between 1 and 10 years. The long preparation period marks a liminal phase for both the living and the dead. The deceased cannot enter the land of the dead until its second final burial and ceremony, so its soul remains on earth, wandering to places it once lived or hovering near its corpse. The living are also taken out of their daily lives and routines. They must protect the deceased from evil, a significant responsibility. They close the eyes of the deceased and plug their orifices. They place the corpse in a coffin, sealed but with a drainage that allows bodily fluids to disperse, allowing the physical body to decompose and symbolically cleansing it of evil. Then they ritually tend to the corpse and gravesite daily. If they don't, the wandering spirit may seek revenge. The funerary ritual, providing the second and final burial or cremation, both frees the soul of the deceased to join its ancestors in the afterlife and releases relatives from the period of mourning and its associated duties and taboos.
There are a variety of ways that cultures dispose of the remains of the deceased. Many involve the return to the elements, sometimes one key significant element or multiple elements, including air, fire, earth, wood, and water. Water burial is practiced in many seafaring cultures, including those in the Pacific Islands and Scandinavia. In the 7th and 8th century, Nordic people associated water with immortality, and it was common for individuals of high honor to have heroes' funerals, being sailed away on a ship with grave goods and sometimes animals and slaves. For many cultures, even if the deceased are not sailed out to sea, remains are dispersed in water. In India, within a year after death, remains are thrown into the sacred water of the Ganges River or thrown into a nearby river or stream in the hopes that they will ultimately reach the Ganges.
The sky burial funeral rite is carried out by many cultures in areas of China, Mongolia, and India. The ritual is also practiced by some Tibetans, other Vajrayana Buddhists, and Zoroastrians. In Tibet, the corpse is slashed open, laid out on a mountaintop to be consumed by the elements and animals, especially Himalayan griffon vultures. Some believe that the speed of the consumption indicates the person's spiritual state upon death. The quicker the consumption, the better the person's karma may be. If the birds don't consume the body, it bodes ill for the dead. The animal's refusal suggests the person lived a bad life and won't have a positive rebirth. This can also affect the living family members, leaving a permanent stigma on the family. In Tibetan culture, the failure to usher a soul through this liminal stage is cause for concern. The spirit of the deceased is never benign, and there's fear of the person's spirit reanimating the body, creating a rolong or zombie. Furthermore, in Tibet, all deaths are thought to be caused by the death demon. This demon is typically exorcised through funeral rites, but if the rituals are done improperly, the family and community members may be at risk. During the Chinese Cultural Revolution, sky burials were prohibited. Families instead either buried the dead or threw their corpses in the river. This left the process of transmigration incomplete, and many believe these souls never left the liminal stage to be reincarnated. Instead, they became ghosts. Today, in many cases, the practice has been commodified by tourists who come to watch the vultures consume remains, despite protest from local monks.
According to Balinese Hinduism, the cremation ceremony, or naben, is one of the most important rites of passage in an individual's spiritual life. Resonating with elemental burials, cremation returns the physical body to the elements and releases the soul, all allowing it to ascend to heaven for reincarnation. Similar to double burials, most families must temporarily bury the deceased while raising funds for the elaborate and expensive cremation rituals, which ensure the spiritual elevation of their loved ones. Sometimes this only takes a few months, sometimes many years. When they are ready, the body will be exhumed, washed, and paraded to the cremation grounds with great fanfare. The process of naben has gone through numerous changes as the social, economic, and cultural contexts of Bali have shifted. Before the influence of the Hindu-Buddhist Majapahit kingdoms in the 13th century, many Balinese would simply bring the bodies of the deceased to the forest, where natural processes of animal scavenging and decomposition would break the body down, thereby releasing the soul to heaven. This practice continues in the remote Bali Aga villages such as Teganan and Trunyan. Another aspect of ritual that has become increasingly contested is the tussling or jostling over the remains during the Ngarap Sara ceremony. While the body is being transported in certain regions in Bali, some light push and pull has been traditional, perhaps as an expression of reluctance to let go. Even when the practice is quite vigorous or appears violent, sometimes even inducing trance, it is planned and permitted, not spontaneous, and great care is taken not to let the corpse touch the ground. However, it can at times become a way for the living to vent their frustration and aggression at the bereaved or deceased. The preparation of funeral ceremony is detailed and laborious, and any errors will affect the status of the family and the community and risk ancestral vengeance via illness or misfortune, so emotions can become frayed. If the naben is of a person who is disliked by the community, the Ngarap Sara ceremony may become violent and vengeful, with attendees seizing the corpse from the family, in some cases dismembering the decaying body and smearing the raw, putrid remains over their relatives or dunking the body in sewer water. Today, due to the stunning effigies and musical performances, cremation ceremonies have become popular destinations for cultural tourism. This new aspect of cremation may be contributing to the increasing disapproval of a more vigorous Ngarap. Would you feel comfortable attending a funeral rite as a tourist? Why or why not? And do you think your answer reflects your own personal or cultural values regarding death? Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to learn more about the study of rites and passages, here are some useful resources in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to get your regular dose of AnthroDorphins.